Hi everyone, I'm Jason, and welcome to the Change Nerd channel. This episode is the third in our series about the 5 questions of change. The first episode, Why This and Why Now, we talked about the importance of understanding what is the whole purpose of why we want to make a change, and how that can help people get on board and understand what's in it for them. The second one, What does success look like when we're done, helps people understand what lies at the end of the journey. How do they know you got there? How do they know the destination's been achieved? Today's episode is talking about what happens if we don't take action. This is a legit thing in change. You can stay where you're at right now. You cannot make a change. You can keep doing what you're doing. In some cases, that may work for you. In other cases, it may not. Let's talk both personally and professionally about the benefits of analyzing what happens if we don't take action. Having worked for corporate America for quite a bit of my life, and having worked in gaming and hospitality and utility, I know that a lot of times regulations or compliance can drive why you have to change. There may be new legal requirements or laws that have changed that now force a business to become compliant by changing a way that they're doing business. Sometimes shareholder activism might also help drive why there are changes occurring in the business. If people go through and say we don't like a leader or we don't like how things are being done, they may buy up shares of the business and then put people on the board and then drive change that way. Sometimes technology outpaces the business. It is expensive and time consuming to update software, hardware, and other processes that are tied to it. Sometimes there's also efficiencies that are lost because we do things the way that we've always done them. And then we discover when we look at it that we really can do it differently, sometimes better, frequently more efficiently. There are other reasons why businesses may drive change, but these are just a few. There are also good reasons why we also want to make personal change. Sometimes we may not be happy with how things are going in life. Sometimes we want to do things differently, and so we'll analyze the possibility of changing things and arriving at a new destination. But this isn't easy. That requires us to oftentimes be uncomfortable and do things that may cost money to build our skills, take time in order to get better, or take us out of our comfort zone completely. Personal change can be difficult, and a lot of times it happens without us asking for it. There are times in our life where things are occurring that you don't have any control over. And so building resiliency and change is something we have to do before we get there. The resiliency comes from understanding how you previously reacted to change and either building on that because it was successful or making small tweaks because maybe you didn't end up doing as well as you had hoped. Change eventually stops asking for permission. When we go to our primary care physician and we get diagnosed with something and we ask how we can fix it or how can we make it better, sometimes we're told to change things in our lifestyle. Sometimes those things are not easy to hear. Sometimes they're not fun. Being told you can't eat or drink something that you really enjoy is a big change, but eventually it will come for us. It will catch up with us and we will be forced to make a change. And so, again, talking about change resiliency, you want to build it before you get there. You want to be flexible and adaptable. So when things have to change, such as personal lifestyle, you can make those changes easily. You can map out a plan. You can have a solid destination and a solid why. I personally am a huge fan of Apple. I live in their ecosystem, so I am very comfortable using Apple products and I'm very happy with how they've turned out. One of the founders of Apple, Steve Jobs, was faced with personal change when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was advised by medical professionals to pursue conventional treatment. He delayed surgery and standard medical treatments for months by choosing alternative and other dietary options. By the time Steve got around to having surgery, the cancer had already progressed too far, and he passed away in 2011 at the age of 56. Steve Jobs was famous for changing many things that you and I both use today. He changed the industry, he changed products, he even changed himself. Yet in the personal health domain, he clung tightly to his own belief system. It shows that even highly adaptive people can resist change. Another example of someone who refused to change was Lance Armstrong. This is one that's based more on ethics and reputation. Armstrong needed to own his past behavior and shift from denial to accountability. For years, he denied doping allegations aggressively, attacking journalists, teammates, and other people who would dare to bring it up. He doubled down on the existing narrative instead of adapting to mounting evidence. In 2012, he was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles. He lost major sponsorships and partnerships. His reputation shifted from being inspirational to someone who was buried in denial. The issue wasn't lack of information. There was plenty of it out there. Failure was emotional and reputational inertia. Earlier accountability would have almost certainly reduced the damage. Refusing to change the story when facts change turns a reputational problem into a reputational collapse. Let's close this episode out with a tool that can help you actually be clear about the impact of changing or not changing. On screen, you're going to see what we call the risk matrix, which talks about the probability and the impact of a change. Scale is 0 to 5 on impact and 0 to 5 on probability. Previously, we had talked about what happens when we over or underinflate urgency. This matrix can help you get clear on just how impactful the change either is or isn't. For example, let's talk about the zombie apocalypse. On a scale of 0 to 5, if the zombie apocalypse was to happen tomorrow, it would definitely be a 5. Super disruptive, massive change. The probability on a scale of 0 to 5 is most likely a 0, maybe 1, depending on who you talk to. When you say you're not going to make change and you're getting people on board about why we want to stay where we're at, you have to apply this same risk matrix to that. Maybe staying where you're at is fine, and the risk is okay, and the impact is low, and the probability of it being super disruptive is low. But use the matrix to go through and really evaluate just how important it is to make this change. Because sometimes staying in place is okay. Most times, staying in place is not going to work. We hope you've enjoyed this episode about understanding the need to really look at what happens if we don't change, because that is an option. Be sure to like and subscribe for more, and stay tuned for episodes 4 and 5.